I was originally born in Switzerland of a Swiss dad and a German mom with two other siblings. And many years I was super proud to call myself Swiss, as I was very proud of my country. But meanwhile I would consider myself more a child of the world, as I always had the feeling that I was kind of dropped off at the wrong place. I was born and I was growing up in a valley with high mountains around me, where the sunlight ended quite early, especially in the winter days. And I was always on the search for sunlight and the sea. And it took me 36 years until I finally found my way to my new home, which is now my home. It has been my home for 15 years, Mallorca and Spain. I started my way as a well-trained hotel business woman. And what I really loved about that is that I could change my job and place every half a year. So this was not a bad sign for my curriculum. It was even something that was encouraged. After living in different places like Greece and Canada, Italy, I ended up in Germany for 12 years, where I lived with my first husband and have my beautiful two kids. But after 12 years, I just had to leave this country again. And I was already separated from my first husband, and we both were in the hotel business, five-star hotel business. I was already separated and was looking for a new purpose, as I clearly felt I needed and wanted to move out of this environment, of this society that was turning around, pleasing other people, serving other people in a way that was not really authentic. It was all about them, to make them comfortable, and really hiding and denying my own needs. So those four years between my separation and moving to Spain, I was figuring out what I wanted to do, because I didn't work while my children were like in the first 8 years. And I did all different kind of work, like modeling for publicity, as I'm not so tall that I could be a model for fashion, but I had a really interesting life for publicity, which allowed me to be with my kids and at the same time get an income that allowed me to move on, as those times were quite challenging for me in a survival way, as my family did not support me. They could not understand my decision to move away from this man, to move away from this life, this very comfortable life. But only when I did this, and I had to really touch base with no income, no resources, not knowing what I wanted to do, not knowing who I really was, not knowing my needs and my talents, and only then not getting support from anybody else around. It was then when I connected to this incredible, strong calling inside of each one of us, but that time or inside of me, that made it very clear to me. I don't know where I was going, but I clearly knew I could and did not want to continue the way I had lived all these years before. So here I am in Mallorca, and fully blossoming now with all different kinds of activities that are all my passion. So I started to create women's circles already a few years ago, back then with two of my friends, both yoga teachers at the yoga studio where I was working. at Earth Yoga. And so with my dear friend Sandra, who was the owner of the yoga studio, and another friend, I decided to bring once a month women together in the yoga studio and just come together and share from a place of safety, of trust, of connection, so that we could access again the feminine parts in our lives that often has been or still is hidden, as with all the liberation that we have been benefiting from over the last years, and where some very courageous, active women has brought us to, which I am really, I am on my knees for them. And we have lost, I feel that we have lost a lot of our innate feminine strength, softness and qualities because of the longing to be equal like men, because of the reasonable fight for equal rights in a world of man and masculine values. A year and a half that we did this, and it was incredible what stories were shared there and how much we could help each other just by listening. It's not about giving advice, it's not about fixing, it's just about having a space where we can speak out what we would probably not dare to speak out to our dearest friend. The power of transformation and change is within us women. It's really here. It's us who have it in an innate way, in an inherent way in ourselves. The thing is that we all have been trained and grown up in a way where we question ourselves. We have so many doubts about ourselves. We put others always first, wherever it comes from. If we have learned it, if we tell ourselves, if we read it, if there are religions, society, it doesn't really matter why, but it's something that many of us women have in common. So the first advice that I would give all of us is to start putting ourselves in the first place, to really connect to us as women, as the girls that we are and we will always be, and ask ourselves daily, what do I need? How do I feel? What do I want, what do I don't want, who do I feel comfortable with and who not. And then after this, another important advice where I also much too long waited, to let go of wanting to be perfect and wanting to be the good girl. To just do things because I feel this is what I want to do now. To just go for this voice, especially when we cannot argue, especially when we have no reasons or logical reasons that we could put on the table. When we try to explain our feelings, motivation in a drive, and along the course of a conversation with a man or with a woman from the logical world, we would lose, or we would feel really stupid because we cannot prove it, we cannot explain it, and then we forget again about it. But really it's so important to just do what we feel is right, and from there make our experiences. Because there is nothing wrong that we can do. There are not wrong decisions we can do. There is no failing, there is no failure. And if there is, or if we would say this was a failure, we can always stand up again. We can always put our clothes right, our crown again there, and keep walking and say, okay, I thought this was the way it turned out it was not the way. I fell, I burned my fingers, others told me that, but now I know it myself. And from there I have a whole other experience that turns into wisdom when I have made the experience myself. It's not from somebody else, it's not from a book, it's not from a guru, it's not because people say, no, it's because I have lived it. So we have to stop wanting to please others, and we have to stop doing things in order to be liked by others. And this is scary, and it's super liberating, because then all of a sudden a whole other bunch of people will find us who first we would never have thought that we had something in common, but then we get another tribe and we get true inspiration from where we can keep growing with other people that are already much farther than we, who do the same thing as we, who want to go there where we are, or who come from different perspectives which will enrich our life as well. What is my advice for men who want to be with women who are in their power? Well, this is kind of the story of my relationship with my beloved husband David the last 11 years. Because when we met, he was right away stepping into a relationship with a woman who decided not to let go of this power anymore. So I know that it is very scary for men. It can be very scary to be with a woman with power. And I know that we women are often very scary because we follow our emotions and we live our emotions. This is scary for ourselves, and hell, it's scary for men. So for men who truly are willing to be with a woman who is wild and powerful and who lives her own life, and who is ready to commit to this man also with all her different aspects, I can only give the advice that just keep loving her. Just see this girl in her, no matter how wild and strong she may appear. Again, here also what I advised before to women, connect to the girl in her and see her desperate longing to be finally seen, to be finally free, to break free of this corset that they have been putting on us for centuries, for ages, where men have their own stories and their own challenges. I also see that. But for women, it has another depth and another quality of suffering for millions of years. And so if this man sees that there is a girl behind that really just wants to be herself and does not want to be put back into a box where she has to be the good girl, where she has to step back in order to let a man have the power and the success and the fame, although he probably is not even more intelligent than her or does exactly the same thing. And where a woman is desperately looking for a way to live her life with the full spectrum of emotions. And this means not only the loving, sweet and sexy woman, but also the angry, jealous, grieving, sad, destructing woman, which then goes again into the light aspects of the emotions. And a woman needs to live these emotions, if not, she's lost. She loses herself, and she's also lost for the man who she loves.